everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. I'm super excited about our guest today. She's doing some incredible things, and I can't wait for you to meet her and learn all about the things that she's doing. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you're all about.
Hi, my name is Dianette Wells. I'm currently residing in Henderson, Nevada, and I'm an endurance athlete.
Awesome. Endurance athlete. Tell us more.
Well, I climb mountains, I do ultras, adventure racing, which I'm starting to retire from that, and yeah, just long distance, long hour sports.
So what got you? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I've been doing that for about 25 years.
25 years. Wow, that's a really long time. What got you into this?
The very first thing I did was climbed Mount Whitney with 10 of my girlfriends, and that was all it took. I was hooked after that.
Well, that's an interesting thing to do. Like, hey, I want to go for a coffee or brunch, or maybe we could go climb Mount Whitney. What do you think? How did that come up? How did that come up?
I'm not sure. I think I had just mentioned to one person that I really wanted to do it, and she said yes. And then you start talking about it, and then another person says yes, and all of a sudden you have, 11 people, and
Wow.
really fun group of women, and I just had the time of my life. So that's what started it.
Okay, so you climbed this first mountain. How long did it take you to prepare for that?
Well, we were all, gym moms. We drop off our kids at school, go to the gym, do whatever we did during the day. And so we all had a base level of fitness. None of us, I don't think, had ever climbed anything. This was really before the internet, so there wasn't a lot of information for us to have. So, we had way too much in our backpacks and not enough of the right thing, and just kind of winged it. And yeah, just kind of did it. And 6 of us summited, and it was just an amazing time. So how long it took to get ready for it, I don't think we did anything differently.
So really, so you just decide, I'm going to climb this mountain, and then you just kind of get your backpack and stuff and just start climbing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, that sounds so insane to me. I mean, even like we have Enchanted Rock here in Texas, and I'm like, that seems like a long hike. Is it just because you just were so used to training and doing things in the gym that you really felt like this was something that you could do and would be exciting?
Yeah, and living in Malibu has some of the best hiking trails that I've ever seen. And so just as part of your daily routine, you'd go on a hike. Some people go surfing every day. A lot of us hike a lot, so multiple times a week. So we kind of knew we could hike. Just the big unknown was the altitude, and then hiking in snow, which I don't think I had ever done up to that point. So that was new for me.
So what were some of the challenges, including the snow?
Well, the snow was the biggest challenge. I didn't know how to kick in steps. I had no ice tools with me. So if you fell, it would have been a problem. I had never been to that high of altitude, so I wasn't sure. I don't think any of us were sure how it would affect us. So that you just kind of figure out as you're going. And I got very lucky that the altitude didn't affect me.
Did it affect any of your group?
Yeah, some people got, really sick.
So did y'all have to like take oxygen, or is that something that y'all thought might be necessary?
No, it's not really a high enough mountain to have oxygen. If you feel sick or start getting sick, you just turn around and walk back down.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow, that's just so interesting to me. So you climb this mountain, you get all the way to the top, and then what? Were you like overwhelmed with the fact that you're able to do it, or were you like, no big deal, I could do the next one?
I was pretty exhausted. I went home back to 3 small kids, and I just remember sitting on a chair, just overwhelmed, just with being tired. But I knew I had to have another one, and so then I did Kilimanjaro a year later.
Wow. Okay, so what made you choose that particular mountain?
I had heard it was the easiest of the 7 summits, and I wanted something that was higher than Mount Whitney. And again, I didn't want it covered in snow and ice because I didn't know anything. And I heard it was just a hike. I mean, it's more than just a hike, but it's a hike. And so yeah, that one was the next one, and again had the time of my life.
So what do you find so appealing about it, so exciting? You said it's the time of your life. What describe to us what that means to you?
Well, now that kind of covers all of the sports I do, which for me is, you're on a start line or the beginning steps of a climb, and you don't know what the outcome's going to be. I mean, nothing is a given. You could take 5 steps and trip and fall and, hurt yourself and it's over. Same with a race or an ultra, any of it. For me, it's the challenge of not knowing. Like if I was going to do a marathon, I pretty much know I can, just do the marathon, and there's not a lot of adventure in that for me. Where, climbing or racing, there's always a little bit of the unknown, and that's what I like.
So have you ever experienced some like self-limiting beliefs or something? Like, you standing at the bottom of this mountain. Have you ever felt like, maybe can I do this? Or had any doubts?
All the time. But, once I sign up for something, I'm committed and, I'll train for it. But yeah, do I always think, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not fast enough? What am I doing out here with these real racers and these real climbers? Yeah, but that's okay. Show up and do it anyways. You're not doing it for others, you're doing it for yourself.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
Exactly. But it does take something inside of you to be able to talk yourself off of that. So I know a lot of people who are listening go through that where they want to try something new. They want to make change in their lives, but they feel that sense of, I can't do it. Or like you said, like, what am I doing out here with the real racers? Like you don't necessarily see yourself in that category. Do you have any advice that you would give to somebody who's maybe wanting to try something new and maybe they're having some of those doubts or thoughts?
Yeah, take everybody else out of it. Because a lot of that negativity is what maybe you think others would be saying to you. and say to yourself, why not? I mean, what's the worst thing that happens in showing up? You take a step and, hey, it worked. I took a step on this course or up this mountain, and then you take another one, and the worst thing that can happen is, okay, you don't finish, but so what? You at least showed up. And the best thing that can happen is you summit, you cross the finish line, and, that's really fun.
Yeah, and you proved it to yourself that you could do it. And then it's like, wow, if I could do that, what else could I do, right?
Exactly.
So for the second mountain that you climbed, did you need oxygen for that one, or was it still one that you could navigate without it?
No, really the only mountain I've ever done where I've had oxygen is Everest. The
Oh,
rest
wow.
of them, you're going slowly enough to acclimatize that you don't need oxygen.
I see. So what would you say is the biggest challenge of all the mountains that you've climbed, all the things that you've done in your life has been like your biggest challenge?
Um, well, two things. The hardest thing I've ever done is Eco Challenge Fiji. That was a nightmare, but a fun nightmare. And the toughest mountain I've ever climbed was Denali.
So explain to us what this eco challenge is. I haven't heard of this before.
It's actually on Amazon Prime, the last one they did. Um, World's Toughest Race, Eco Challenge Fiji. Um, an adventure race is a multi-discipline sport that, depending on the terrain and location, determines what sports will be. And it's nonstop, multiple days. And it's on your mark, get set, go. Sometimes there's dark zones and mandatory stops, but it's a team of 4. Usually one person has to be of the opposite sex, and you must start as a team and finish as a team.
So where did you get the idea to do this?
It wasn't my idea, but after Kilimanjaro, I happened to be at a kid's birthday party in Malibu, and my friend's husband was the producer and creator of Eco Challenge. And as she's introducing me, and I had just met the wife, Diane, at the time, and she's told her husband, Mark, oh, Dianette just got back from climbing Kilimanjaro. And he said, you should try my race. And I just said, yes, like, okay, I'm in, that's it. And that kind of changed my life dramatically.
So then when you find out what it is and you hear like, wait, I have to do what now? Were you a little taken aback or a little nervous about
I
your
knew exactly what it was.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had seen it on TV for years, and as that armchair quarterback and yelling at the racers, keep going, don't give up, or you've got this, whatever. And now it was going to be my turn to do it. And so for the next few years, I was an adventure racer, and greatest time of my life.
What made it the best time of your life?
It's hard to explain because it's physically and mentally incredibly difficult. But to get through a race course with people you are so close with and you would trust your life with. I mean, some of the most amazing people I know are adventure racers, people I've either raced with or against. And, it's pretty spectacular just to have that closeness with, maybe a week prior, you hadn't even met them in person yet.
And then you spend all this time with them really training. Do you do a lot of training before you actually go on the adventure race? Or is it just the whole time you're just together thrown into it?
No, the first Eco Challenge, yes, we spent months, close to a year training together. But, when you're raising kids and people have careers and families, that's kind of difficult. But once you have a few races under your belt and people know, you get a certain reputation and people know what they're getting. So like for the last Eco Challenge, I had either raced with some of them or I knew of them. And so we all met in Fiji. One of them I'd never met in person until at the airport. And, to this day, he's one of the greatest people I've ever raced with.
So you didn't even meet him in person. All of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to be trusting you with my life here in this eco challenge.
Yeah.
That sounds so incredible.
And it happens, a lot of teams, that happens to. And, he's a military guy, incredibly strong. So, you know what you're getting with some of these people.
So for those of us out there, including myself, who have not watched Eco Challenge, can you explain to us a little bit about how the show goes?
I haven't seen it in a few years, but the race, you all meet together in a location that, Mark Burnett, and who's the race director of Eco Challenge, and his crew set up. The next morning, we had an early start, and it started off with this very long paddle to an island. We had to circumnavigate the island, and you're also navigating. So you have to have a really good navigator, or you could be lost for days, which is very unpleasant. And, my team, we had our ending about 8 days later. If you watch the show, you'll see. We had quite the race, but yeah, it's just kind of nonstop. We paddled boats, we did stand-up paddle boarding, swimming, ropes, biking, hiking, just so many different things, and your body's just trashed. But that if someone has a low, the rest of them will bring them up, and it's hard to explain. But if you see the show, you'll get a good taste of it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch. That sounds so interesting. So essentially, you start at one place, and the goal is to get to another place as a group without losing any of your people, right?
Yeah, it's about, I've done all different lengths of races, but I think this one was about 300 miles. I'm not,
300 miles? Wow. And whatever means you have to use, like you said, paddling, biking, hiking, all of the stuff, you just do what you got to do to get to the end of the race?
well, no, there are certain sections that the race director and the guys who create the race have set up. So there's the mountain biking section, which if it ends at a river, then you get into a boat and paddle. They tell us what mode of transportation, nothing motorized. But if it's a hiking section, you're not going to bike it. And, if it's a biking section, yeah, you might be walking some of it because it's unrideable, but they determine what sport happens when.
Wow, that's just so interesting. I'm so excited to go and watch that now. So you climbed the second mountain, you've done this eco challenge, and then what happens next?
So I did a few more races, and then in 2002, I got a divorce, and then I switched fully to mountaineering. It was less time away from the kids, and I wasn't getting so physically beaten up. And mountaineering after adventure racing just seemed so much easier. You got to sleep at night, you were eating regularly. It just seemed much more civilized than adventure racing at that point. So yeah,
Wow.
so the second mountain I did. So then I was kind of focused on the 7 summits, and I'd done Kilimanjaro. And so my next one was Mount Elbrus in Russia.
Wow. And so you just keep going. So you climb one mountain, you're like, okay, I'm here. Okay, what's the next mountain? Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. You knock them off the list, and then you do the other one. And it took me, it was either 8 or 11 years. I'd have to, let's see, 1999 to 2008. So 9 years to do the 7 summits.
Wow, that's insane. So then you do all 7 summits, and then what?
And then I started ultra marathons. Someone said, hey, you want to try this race? It's called Racing the Planet. It's 155 miles. It's really fun. The race director is really nice. One of the few, if only, female race directors out there. And it was funny, Mary Gaddams had done Eco Challenge Borneo. So I had actually raced against her at one point. But she creates this thing, these ultra marathons in the deserts of the world. And so I did one for fun, and it really was fun and hard. And so that kind of, that started that. So then I started doing ultra marathons. Someone asked me if I wanted to do Race Across America, which is a bike ride across the United States. I did that. That was torture, but fun. My team did really well. So then it just became kind of a thing of if someone said, hey, do you want to, I just said yes to everything.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
That's insane to me. Like this whole idea starts off with like you and 10 of your mom friends, like, oh, hey, y'all want to go climb Mount Whitney? And next thing you know, you're doing like eco challenges and climbing the 7 summits and then doing these ultra marathons. And then, all of these things is just, do you ever look back at your journey and say, wow, I did all of that?
When I'm asked to write a resume and I write everything down that I've done, I just think, wow, okay. Because I just feel like I'm just this, housewife or now empty nester with not a lot going on. Like, what was that all about? And if you look at it on paper, I showed up at one race. It was an ultra in Alaska in the middle of winter. What? And the race director looked at me and said, what's a Malibu housewife doing on my race course?
Oh.
And I just thought, okay, is that how people look at me? I'm just a Malibu housewife, but okay. I just smiled and then I finished and that was that.
Wow, that's just so interesting to me. I mean, I had a fear of public speaking and I made a commitment to myself that I was just going to start saying yes. And just kind of like what you're saying, where all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, you want to go do this eco challenge? Or, hey, you want to go climb this other mountain? Or, hey, you want to do this ultra marathon with me? Like those kind of things start to come into your life once you are open for opportunity. So it's so interesting to hear you say, and then the way that you talked about, you write down your resume and you're like, wow, I'm just an ordinary person. This doesn't feel like, me. I just think I'm just a regular person. So I love that you're so humble about it as well.
Well, I think if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's just, public speaking, that would terrify me. I think I was asked a couple of times, and one of the times, when you're looking into the audience and you can feel their embarrassment for you, my throat's constricting, my eyes are watering, it was horrible.
Yes, it's shaking. You're like, yeah. And then I get really bad about like formulating a sentence, I used to get really bad because like I said, I've pretty well overcome a fear of public speaking now, but all of those times, but I'm with you as far as telling everybody in the audience, like literally, if we could do it, you could do it. So you put your mind to it and you can make it happen.
Yeah, just say yes, I think I've invited a lot of different friends to go on different things, and most of them say yes, but I have a few that'll say, well, someday, or when this or when that. And it's like, those days never come. You just have to say yes and do it. And you might be out of shape when you sign up for something, but I'll tell you, the minute you put down a deposit, you start training and, you make it happen.
Yeah. And you might be out of shape when you start, but you might stay in shape if you never start. Stay out of shape if you never start. Yeah. So what's next? So tell us what's coming up next for you after you've done all these incredible things.
Well, I have a book coming out in a couple of days, but the fun stuff, I have my 13th climb of Mount Whitney, which I'm very excited about. I've got a great group of friends. There are 15 of us. And then I have an ultra in Jordan in September, which I'm very excited about. And that's so far. And then exploring all of the fun mountains and Lake Mead that's now 2 miles from my house. Just exploring all of the trails and things that are around me now.
That's incredible. So I'm excited to kind of dive into this book. So writing a book is a whole experience in itself. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be and a little bit of your journey getting there.
Well, for years, people have said, oh, you should write a book. You should write a book of your crazy sports. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to write a book. And then a friend of a friend asked me to write an article for the Huffington Post. And I did. That led from one thing to another. And I went through a few co-writers, and my first agent didn't work out. And then during COVID, but the first agent finally said, you need to write this book yourself because everyone is distorting your voice. You need to sit down and write it. And again, I didn't know a thing about writing books. Like, where do you even start? So during COVID, I brought my computer from my bedroom. I sat it on the kitchen table, and I just literally started from I was born, and just did it on a timeline. I had like 80,000 words, no idea what to do with it. A friend of mine said, "Oh," which is another thing, a lot of people don't want to give you their agent information or their co-writer information. It's like they hoard that info. And I had a girlfriend who was like, "Oh, here, talk to my agent," which was very kind. And her agent, who's now my agent, Deborah Jacobs, immediately called me and said, because I just sent her the outline or chapter summaries or something. And she said, "Send me the whole thing." And I did. And, thankfully she connected me with an amazing co-writer, Britt Elders, and she cleaned up my mess and got rid of about 30,000 words. And then we ended up with this. And once I first spoke with that agent, gosh, it's 2 years now. From the start until right now, I think it's been 2 years. But in total, it took 8 years to write this, from 2016 until now, 8 years from start to finish. So even though it took a long time, I didn't give up on it. Sometimes I'd go 2 years without writing a word because it was too painful. But yeah, so here we are, 8 years later.
It's such a great story. I love the fact that, you just got your computer and you're just like, if I don't start, it's never going to happen. I just have to start. And everybody listening to this or watching this needs to know, like, that's what you have to do. If you really want something, just start. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. Just start, and you never know what can come of it. And the fact that you didn't give up, even though it was taking longer than maybe you wanted it to, you didn't give up. You kept going and you kept looking, and finally the right opportunity came into your life. So it just came out exactly how it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you feel about the journey of writing the book? Did you feel like it was taxing or freeing, or what were your thoughts on the actual journey itself?
You're just able to release so much. And, you have to look back at some really painful times where, this book did. And you just think, okay, you know what? You survived that, and you can survive anything. There's, I hope people read this and walk away thinking, okay, I've got this. I can survive anything. It's one foot in front of the other, whether it's a mountain or a divorce or the loss of a child. It's whatever it is in life, it's one step in front of the other. Even if you feel like you cannot make that step, they can be little baby steps, but at least it's a step. And that's what's important.
Absolutely. And that's what the show's about, the little things, little gives, and then little steps. And really, if you can just take a little step and multiply it by many more little steps, you can get a lot further than what you could if you waited until the right perfect step came along. So I'm grateful that you shared that.
Thanks. It's like an ultra marathon where, gosh, this 155 miles is looming in front of you, but it always starts with one step. And before you know it, you've done 155 miles.
155 miles. Okay. I was wondering what an ultra marathon was. I was like, I'm definitely Googling this when we get off this chat, but 155 miles, is that running?
For the real people, yes. For me, I call it shuffling, but it's a very slow run for me, especially at this point. But it's forward movement. We'll say that.
Wow, that's insane. So we are part of a thing called Move Today 365 that a person called Russell Rogers started, which is for people to get off their devices, get outside and walk 2 miles on the second Saturday of every month. Get your family, get your friends, and do that. So we do that. And I was like kind of sweating a little bit. I mean, I walk and run a lot, but it was hot outside. And I just cannot imagine 155 miles. Shuffling, walking, crawling, seems like a lot to me.
Yeah, I've done all 3 of those.
That's insane. That's insane. So what do you do for rest and recovery once you finish one of these, huge feats?
Netflix.
Netflix. I love it. So do you do ice baths or heat, or do you have any tips for marathon runners for the recovery portion?
I'm usually not at home during these events, so having access to an ice bath is not really, and usually my plane ride home, let's say for an ultra, the race will end on a Sunday, my flight's home on Monday. So it's, depending on the condition of my feet, it's a painful shower, kind of shuffle to dinner, have dinner. The real first rest I get is on the plane ride home. And then I'll go home usually, feet up for a few days, watch TV, and then it's, back to normal, back to whatever you do every day.
On to the next thing.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so your book, it's going to be coming out on what date?
June 10th.
Awesome. So by the time this episode airs, that book will be released. Where can the audience pick up a copy of this book?
Amazon is a great place. Barnes and Noble, my favorite bookstore. Just anywhere you would buy books, Target. Those I think are the main three.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to switch off to the two questions I ask all of my guests. The first one being, can you give the audience an example of a little thing that they can do in their community that might just be a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on the other side?
A lot of communities have community calendars of events, and just show up to something, whether it's the Kiwanis polar plunge in the local lake, or a gardening thing to spruce up some, a plot of land that's kind of been neglected. Your time is just as important, if not more important, than just writing a check. So show up, meet some of your neighbors, and, give a little bit of your time.
Wow, nobody's ever said that one before. That's incredible. I love that. Thank you for sharing that one. Can you give the audience an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been, a little give on their end, but really made an impact to you and on your life?
Yes, we had a family tragedy, and people came out of the woodworks, bringing food, bringing coffee, bringing wine. And I just, looking back on all of that, their presence and just showing up with a cup of coffee, I was blown away by people's, generosity. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's always wonderful whenever your neighbors all rally together to help you, your friends, your family, your neighbors, everybody to pitch in and make sure that you're taken care of during those times. Perfect. Okay, so tell us about a nonprofit that you're excited about.
I love more than anything the Cambodian Children's Fund. I was invited to go to Cambodia with a friend, and I was checking out some different charities there. And another friend had said, "Oh, you have to Google Scott Neeson." He was this, Hollywood bigwig, and he gave it all up to move to Cambodia to create these schools. And what this man has done, they just had their 20th anniversary. It's incredible. I mean, 1,800 kids at least have been educated. He now has graduates in colleges around the world. This dump where children were eating from, getting their daily meals out of, food scraps at the dump. That dump is now closed. These kids are in schools. And most shockingly, now they're getting educations, worldwide, and they're coming back to that community to give back to the town they grew up in. And it's one of the best charities out there, highest rated. For $50 a month, you can sponsor a granny. And I think we can all imagine what, someone of that age has been through living there. And for $150 a month, which I have a boy there, and for $150 a month, his family will never go hungry. He will be highly educated, and it's changed not just this one kid's life, but his family's, and then the next generation. So his children's lives, and yeah, one of my favorite charities on the planet.
That's beautiful. The ripple effect, the ripple effect that takes place whenever you just give a little. That is a beautiful nonprofit. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay, why don't you tell the audience where they can find all of the stuff that you're doing? Maybe you have a website, maybe you have some social media you want to share. Give them all the details.
I have a website, dianettewells.com, and I'm on Instagram, Dianette Wells, Facebook, Dianette Wells. I think it's adventurer, or endurance athlete. I can't remember. Dianette Wells endurance athlete on Facebook, and reach out, hit me up, say hi, tell me what fun things you're doing. I love to hear people's adventure stories because they're usually pretty crazy. Just get outside, have fun, say yes to everything.
I love it. Love it so much. Okay, everybody, she told you exactly where to find her. Go find her online, find her on her website, find that book, order it, read it, and then let us know what you think. Be sure to reach out, give her all the feedback, and like she said, share your adventures. If you are passionate about that nonprofit and you want to know more, go to their website. Go and see if you can make a donation for $1 or $5. There's also the sponsorship levels, like she mentioned before, but you can find all that information on their website. Please go and make a little give. Those little gives really can spread a ripple effect that lasts for generations, as she mentioned. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Little Give. If you would like to learn more about how I highlight ordinary people doing extraordinary things to help others, or maybe you'd like to be a guest, or maybe you know a nonprofit that you would like to see featured on a future episode of Little Give, you can find all the information on our website at littlegive.com. If you'd like to get involved with our kindness clip segment, please do send in those videos. Send them via email to cindy@littlegive.com, or you can tag us on any social media under Cindy Whitteman or #LittleGive. If you'd like to know more about our podcast, you can also find us on all major streaming platforms under Little Give Podcast. Please do find our Facebook group under Little Give TV show and join it. We'd love to keep you up to date with future episodes. Thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to highlight the next ordinary person doing extraordinary things to help others. See you next time.